Okay guys, today I'm coming at you with a tool haul that I got from three places. So the Klein screwdriver there, the electronic screwdriver, which I'll show you a little bit about, I picked up from Amazon, and that was $10, and it is got some of the small size Torx on it. They call it electronics screwdriver. And then I picked up that Knipex, or Knipex, that however you want to pronounce it. That is a 5-inch model, and I picked that up from eBay. It was new on eBay, it wasn't used, and I want to say I paid 28 and change for that, maybe $29 for that. It was the best price I could find. So looking forward to sharing those two items with you. And then the items in the boxes came from my dad, and let's take a look at those. Okay, so my dad did a great job packing these tools so they wouldn't get damaged. Let's take a look and see what they are. All right, how about that? Three really nice vintage SK socket sets. So let's take a look at them and see what's going on with these. So the first one here, it looks like it's a 1/2 inch. It's got the breaker bar in it, and he labeled the boxes, because I'll show you why in a minute. The contents are labeled in a separate box to make it a little bit easier for me. The second box is a 3/8 drive, and this one I believe is standard. We'll have to see. Oh, it says 1987. It actually has the year on it, so I think this is standard sockets that go in there. Oh no, this might be the standard one. We'll see. Yeah, this I believe is the standard one. So I did take a peek at it earlier to see. And this is box number 2. What I really like about both of these 3H sets is that they still have the original plastic in it, which is really hard to find whenever you find these at a garage sale or an estate sale. Then what he did, like I was mentioning, is he put the contents for each one of these in a bag. There's some loose stuff in here too, as far as some extensions and whatnot. This looks like that's definitely the 1/2 inch bag. And here's another 3/8 drive bag. So let's take a look. I'm going to go through it all, clean it all up, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I've been messing with this latch, and of course I actually probably made it worse, but I think I got a solution. So there was a little piece of metal on here. I bent it back since I did have the latch, and try to position in there and bend it back over. I did that a couple of times, and I broke the piece that went on the top here. So what I did is found a little piece of metal here, and I bent it, and I put it in my vise, and I made a piece that can go on the top of this latch. So that way I could set it in here, and it actually will function like a latch. And it works actually pretty well. So what I need to do, I think, is figure out a way to get that to stay in there. So I think I'm going to use this JB weld. So let's see how that turns out. So I should have probably mentioned the reason that I'm messing with the latch on this is it came separate from the case. So my dad actually had it, but it was not connected. And this is the 3H drive set standard. And it was missing, so as you saw I made that piece, and it seems to be working pretty good. I was able to use a little JB weld, pack it in there underneath and around it, and with that piece that I made, it, you know, sometimes it takes a little finagling, there you go, but it seems to be working pretty well. Another thing I did to just make sure, because this latch isn't really super spring-loaded like it came from the factory, is I added a magnet. So take a look at this. I glued down, or I epoxied down a little strong magnet, and it is strong. Look at this. I don't even need the latch with that magnet. So the latch just adds another little bit of security, and overall I'm really happy with the way it came out. Pretty neat. Alright, let's see how everything else came out and how it came together. I've been busy cleaning things. Alright, so here's what it looked like. Alright, I'll show you that stuff in the corner there. It's just some miscellaneous stuff, some extras, but there's some nice stuff in there. This first set here is a metric set of 3H drive, cleaned up real nice. I did add a couple of things of my own to try to complete some of these sets, which I'll show you in a minute. This is the 1/2 inch drive set, which was the oldest of the bunch and really came out the nicest. And a little bit of a story behind that, which I'll tell you in a minute. And then finally, the metric set. And that had a Craftsman ratchet in it, which I doctored up a little bit and made it look pretty nice. So let's start with this 1/2-inch drive set and a little bit of a story behind it. So this set was my dad's first set of sockets that he bought, probably when he was about 18 or 19 when he got his first job. He did go to like a vocational electrical school, so when he got out, he wanted to get a job in electric, and he got a job at a department store in New York City. And for you folks that are from this area, you may remember a department store called Gimbel's, and basically their competitor was Macy's, very similar to Macy's, and they sold SK socket sets, and he was able to buy this one with like an employee discount, and he really didn't use it that much over the years. I remember always seeing it in the basement of our house growing up, and it was always just something that was there, and he used it very little because it was a home use set. Let's take a closer look at it. This set basically just had a little bit of rust and a handful of sockets inside of it. Just surface rust, that orangey stuff that you see just from light use when you get scratches in it. So what I did with this is I just soaked it in a little tub of evaporust, and this is something I do is I try to use as little of evaporust as possible. So I try to put it in a small container like this, and I fill it with the sockets. I stack the sockets inside of each other. I'll put the small ones inside the big ones and try to make it as tight as possible so I could use as little as possible on the evaporust, and they came out beautiful. And then the outsides of them, the chrome is just gorgeous. So these roughly are from the late 60s. I didn't even have to put these on the buffing wheel. If you remember the video I did of the SK where I actually restored the SK socket set, it took a lot of work to bring the luster back. Not on these. They came out beautiful. The case itself, I just soaked it with WD-40 for a couple of days. I would soak it. I did that for all three cases. Put WD-40 on it, wiped it down, WD-40 wiped it down, used mineral spirits, took all that off, compounded it out, used a compound on it, then coated it again with WD-40, and that's kind of how I have them today. This was the ratchet that was in there. It came out really nice. I took it all apart, lubed it with super lube. Got all the knurling clean, really happy with the way that came out. Did not have an extension in it, so I went into my little bag of extra tools and I found this old, I felt like it matched that period. It was really rusted up, so I cleaned that up, came out nice. And this is the breaker bar that was in it. Oh, as you can see here, I put some matting in it, just a shelf liner, and that really makes it nice on the bottom. But this breaker bar came out really nice. I love that it has the detents in it. 41653 and a really beefy handle on it. When you compare that to the newer ones, it just does not compare. And I love SK and I love their new stuff, and I still get a lot of it and I'm always looking for it. But this is a newer SK one. If you remember from my last video, I bought off of Letgo, and I think I paid $15 for it. But you can't even compare the knurling on it and the grip on it. Just look at the heads on these things, how the difference is where, those are like fit in there and machined in there versus the way the old ones were made with just such a better quality. Not to say that the stuff's not quality today, because it is, but the only thing this set was missing was the two smaller sizes. So it was missing a 7/16, which I found an old V-Series Craftsman that I put in there, and it was missing the 3/8. So instead of putting the 3/8, which I didn't have one that size, I had an extra 10 mil. So you can never have enough 10 millimeters. So really happy with the way that one came out. Let's take a closer look at the 3/8 drive ones. So the first set I'm going to show you here is a metric set. And this is a set that I'm really excited to own. I do have about 2 or 3 other vintage SK socket sets, but they are all SAE or standard. No metric ones. So I was really excited when I saw that this was a metric set. And it was somewhat complete. It had it was missing the ratchet. So actually, it wasn't missing a ratchet. It had this cheap Chinese knockoff SK ratchet in it. So I didn't even bother cleaning that up, obviously. But I went to my drawer of ratchets and I found one that would fit. A lot of them didn't fit within that slot, as many ratchets as I had. But this is a really nice B52 Super Ratchet by Williams. It has the knurling like an SK, and until I could find one that I do have a lot of SK ratchets, but just no extras. They're all accounted for in other sets. I think that fits just fine. Cleaned up all the other sockets in here. Was not missing any of the shorts. The shorts, I basically just wiped them down with WD-40, cleaned them out. Didn't do anything crazy with them. It was missing a 12 mil. That's the only thing it was missing on the shorts. So I had an SK 12 mil, but it's a shorter one for some reason, so it looks a little odd in there. I guess it's just a little different model. It was missing the spark plug socket, so I threw a Craftsman USA made one in there. And it was missing a bunch of the deeps. So these are the deeps that it has in there. It's missing the 10, obviously. Had the 11, missing the 12, 13, 14. 15 was there. It goes to 17 and 19. So I had these old Blackhawk. I believe these are Blackhawk. Oh, no, these are Husky USA made on the 12 and 13, and they fit in there. So I stuck them in there for now. I do belong to the SK Socket of the Month Club. So over time, I'll be able to fill these up 1 month at a time or as a hit garage or estate sales. The plastic on both of these sets was a little brittle in certain spots, some more than others. Some was on the sides of it. So what I did was I used electrical tape to repair it. So if it was a crack that was within the socket actual tray, what I did is I used alcohol, cleaned it really nice so the tape would adhere really well, and I taped it from underneath as well as on the top in certain spots, and it really reinforced it nice on both sets, and it blends right in. You can see there was a crack there and a crack there, and you could barely kind of see it with the electrical tape, so I'm really happy with the way that came out. The latch on this one was not a problem. This is the metric set that everything worked fine, and the 2 3/8 sets my dad bought off a mechanic right before he moved to Florida, and basically they've just been sitting in his house in Florida and he hasn't used them, and the guy he bought them from was just a slob, one of those mechanics that everything was just filthy, never cleaned anything, and there was really never a reason for that. We had a slop tank, there was mineral spirits he could have cleaned stuffed up with. He was just one of those dirty guys. Everything he did was dirty, everything he touched was dirty, his hair was dirty, and all these tools were absolutely filthy. So I spent a lot of time cleaning up all the sockets inside and out. All right, let's take a look at the standard set, or as SK likes to call, fractional. So very similar to the metric set. This one cleaned up really nice. What I did on both the sets, the larger sockets I did put on my buffing wheel because they were kind of really scratched up, and I was able to get out a lot of the striations and stuff that was on them. So that came out nice. And this is 3/8 through 3/4. And none of them were really missing. I think maybe this 9/16 was missing, and I pulled that out of another set. That's why you can see it's a little bit more beat up. But I don't even know. That might have been in there. On the shorts, though, it was missing a few. It was missing the 7/16. It's missing the 5/8, and it's missing the 11/16. So I didn't have a 5/8 replacement, believe it or not. Not in a 6-point. So I just used the Craftsman ones there. So a few more sockets to get there, but overall they are in really nice shape. Patched up a lot of the plastic where I needed to. Was missing the spark plug socket similar to the other one. Used the Craftsman there, and unfortunately was missing the 3-inch little extension. I really do like the knurling that's on the SK extension, so if I come across one of those, I will definitely put it in there. But what took me some time in restoring this one was the ratchet was a Craftsman ratchet that was in here, and it was caked, beat up like I mentioned, full of grime, barely even spun. So I took it apart, and I gave it a little bit of a personalization to it. So I painted the back plate here with a hammered black spray paint, polished out the button there, inlaid some red in the Craftsman there, really personalized it and customized it. And I'm really partial to these thumb wheel ratchets. If you remember, I had a 1/4-inch one that wasn't working not too long ago, and Dano sent me a replacement for it, which I was so happy about. But these are more desirable of the older Craftsman ratchets, and the reason they mean something to me is this is my original one that I had since probably I was 12 years old, and I started working in the shop as a mechanic. You know, all through my teenage years I used this and I loved it, and it's just something that, you know, I'm so glad I still have this because I don't have a lot of my older tools from when I was a kid working in the shop, but this one I do. So to have another one in even better shape and able to make it look cool like that, I'm really happy with. And just something else I wanted to share with you. If you remember in my last video, my dad sent me some other ratchets, and one of them was an Esco who made the Craftsman, and it was a 1/2" one, and I took this one apart recently and cleaned it up and painted the back plate on that one just with a flat black and polished it up, and then I inlaid the Esco in there. So that's something I'm starting to do now, is just inlay some paint in some spots, and it really makes a nice difference, and it makes the things pop. So, and this one came out great and works great. And the last thing on this one, which was kind of cool, is it had the original packaging inset that goes in here. So I am going to put that back in there. I try to clean it up the best I could without damaging it, because it is just a piece of cardboard. But I love the old branding, the marketing. It actually says on it 1987, so that's probably when roughly both these sets are from. And I like it, and I'm gonna figure out a way to just kind of get it in there to stay in there. So let me just show you a couple of the miscellaneous things. Okay, so real quickly here, a couple of the cool items is it had a 1-foot SK 3/8 drive extension. Those are always really nice to have, the longer ones. Did have to clean it up, buff it up. This is a nice Mako 3" extension, really neat. I love this adapter. It's a 3/8 to 1/2" SK adapter. I do not have one in the SK brand. And just some miscellaneous other sockets. A bunch of old snap-ons here, vintage snap-on. I believe this is a vintage snap-on. And just some other SK and some nice stuff. Some Williams in here. The Williams stuff, the old Williams. I just keep going like this because the weight of this 5/8 is just really nice. I mean, the quality of some of the old Williams stuff. And there's some Williams wobble sockets as well. So I apologize, this video is going a little longer than I would have liked, but let me show you my Knipex and Klein micro screwdriver, and we'll get this video wrapped up. But I felt like I had a lot to share with you guys today. So next up here is these Knipex, and look how small these are. These are literally 5 inches. When they say 5 inches, they mean 5 inches, but they're super expensive for their size, because you can buy Knipex that are like 10 inch, 12 inches for the same price as this. These are about $28, and I shopped around a while, and that was the best price I could find. I found them on eBay. They're actually $1 or $2 cheaper, and they didn't charge tax from the state, I guess. I don't know how that worked, but either way, I was really happy with them. I wanted a pair of pocket pliers, and I looked at getting the channel lock ones, but the quality and the reviews on them just wasn't that good. And these, I could see why they charge a premium. The teeth on them are just unbelievable. You could feel the coarseness and the quality, and just they're just great set that you can easily go in a pocket, a front pocket, a pants pocket, and the opening on these is 1.5 inches, which is the size of, you know, a larger size. So this was my smallest pair of channel lock type pliers that I had. If you remember, I did a cleanup on this. It was all rusted. If you haven't seen that video, it's pretty cool because I brought these back to life. But these are a set of Mako USA, and look at this. They are exactly the same opening, and these are a 7-inch pair. So this was the closest thing I had to a pair of pocket pliers previous to getting these. And then look at this. This is a pretty good size channel locks. These are the 420s, and look at this. Pretty much. I mean, you're talking, yeah, there's a little bit more larger opening with the 420s, but obviously you're not going to get the leverage with a pocket pair. But in a pinch, it'll really come in handy. And you know, it's just a nice thing to always have a little pocket tool like that. And this here is my Leatherman, and I had this since the late 90s, and I absolutely love this. I think this is called the side clip. They only made it for about 5 years. You can't find this exact model anymore. And what's great about this model is you can carry it inside your pocket, and it clips in. You don't have to carry it on your belt. You don't need a pouch. It's very comfortable, it's slim, and very well made. And I've done a lot with these over the years. I've cut in battery terminals with that. I've cut in seatbelts with the blade. I mean, it's just seatbelt, you know, just to slice right through it because of the quality of it. And I actually almost missed a plane once for these. I had them in my carry-on bag. I didn't realize it was in a knapsack, and they confiscated it from me, and I was able to make it back to the gate, my car, and back in time. I wasn't willing to lose these. When I bought these, I want to say they were about $50. It was a lot of money for me back then, and just recently, you know, I almost lost them during the plane to the airlines, and I wasn't gonna let that happen. But if you need a good pair of pocket pliers, I would definitely recommend these. The quality is unbelievable. You can't even budge them. I've been using them for different things and carrying them. You forget you even have them in your pocket. All right, let's take a look at those Kleins. So I said Kleins because I'm used to talking about pliers when you talk about Klein, but it's a Klein 4-in-1 screwdriver. And the reason I was in the market for one of these little mini Torx screwdrivers is because I recently bought this DeWalt socket set, and I'm really happy with it. I got such a good deal on it, and you can see the video where I talk about it. I didn't really do a review on it or anything, but this is made by Stanley Black & Decker, and it's just a great set for the money, especially what I paid for it at Costco. But it had these little torque heads in here, and it needed to be greased. You could hear it's nice and greased now, and I did not have, I didn't think I had one. I did. It was this Husky set, and I finally found it. And this is a set I bought around the holidays, probably 10 years ago, maybe more. It's got all different types of Phillips flatheads, got a couple of smaller Torx, and a couple of smaller like Allen sizes. But these are Chinese made. I did use it. It had one Torx in it. I think it was a T7, and I was able to get it out, but I just didn't feel confident in it. It just didn't feel like it was fitting the right way. It just felt, quite frankly, cheap, which they probably are. I don't even think you could get those anymore from Husky. I didn't see them. I looked online. So I said, hey, you know what? When I have a chance, I'm going to do some homework and buy them. So one day I was putzing around on the internet, and I came across the gear wrench ones that they sell. They have a nice little set for about $15, and it looks like the Mako. It looks like it's in the same exact case and everything. And then I came across this Klein, and I said, you know what? It's a 4-in-1. It's all compact. Klein, made in the USA versus Chinese, which I believe the gear wrench ones were. And I bought it. It got really good reviews, and I'm happy with it. I used it to play with that ratchet. I tried it on there, and it worked really well. It's really neat, right? It goes one this way. You can flip it this way, just like any other 4-in-1 screwdriver. Really happy with it. The only drawback is it is not made in the USA. It's actually made in Taiwan, and I want to say I checked that on Amazon. So I don't know, maybe recently or some of the reviews I was reading said USA. I don't know. But either way, it's Taiwanese. It's still good quality. Just a little bit disappointed that it was not made in USA. But it fits in there great. I tried it. You could just see the quality of it. You just feel much more confident with the handle. I definitely recommend this for $10. So let's wrap up. So I forgot to mention one really cool thing about these Knipex. You see how the teeth go all the way back? So when these are open, you can use them and it'll still grip all the way to the back. If you look at these Macos, they don't do that. China locks don't do that. They end right there. So that is another really awesome feature of these Knipex. So hopefully you enjoyed my tool haul today. I would definitely recommend those pocket pliers, 5-inch. I would definitely recommend this Klein 4-in-1. It's awesome. And hopefully you enjoyed seeing these socket sets, some nice old vintage SK socket sets. So please like and subscribe. I'm actually up to 160 subscribers, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. So if you like the videos and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Stay tuned. I got some upcoming restorations, some more tool hauls. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.